Our next speaker is Katie Lindenberg, the Secretary of the NEU in Waltham Forest, a union where, in response to the callous disregard of the government and of many school managers, the NEU has been able to mobilise its members with remarkably a 40,000 strong Zoom meeting in January to protest against the return to school in the middle of an increasing pandemic. So I have great pleasure in introducing Katie to speak to our commemoration. Katie.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Good afternoon, everybody. I bring solidarity greetings from the nearly 3,000 members of Waltham Forest National Education Union. We represent workers in all education settings in the borough, nurseries, primary schools, secondary schools and colleges. We have teachers, support staff and school leaders in our membership. And all of our members, who like all other key workers, they've made heroic efforts during the pandemic and put their lives on the line. And as Kevin said, this has been in the face of a complete disregard for our safety and a willful ignoring of science and the advice that our union has at all times, relied on. On this Workers' Memorial Day, my thoughts are with all of those who've lost their lives to work-related injury or disease. Every year, many workers across the country lose their lives in this way. However, this year we add to those numbers lives lost due to COVID, which many in key worker roles will have contracted at work. The pandemic has highlighted the huge gaps in health and safety at work, whether this has been non-existent or inadequate PPE, or employers not making workplaces COVID secure, or a culture of fear that exists in some workplaces that means that workers don't feel able to challenge dangerous conditions. The pandemic's also highlighted the huge gaps between rich and poor. We've heard of workers too afraid to self-isolate when they should, due to fear of recriminations or because they simply cannot afford to be at work. And who knows how many lives that this has cost. We don't know exactly how many lives have been lost in our nursery schools and colleges. What we do know is that number would be much lower if those in education had been kept safer, if the NEU and other unions had been listened to, and if the government had not ignored us and insisted that our nursery schools and colleges were safe when they simply were not. But the pandemic's also highlighted the amazing work done by trade unions across the country. And I'm incredibly proud to be a trade unionist. I'm incredibly proud to be part of my union, the NEU. We can hold our heads high knowing that because of the work of all in our union, from our joint general secretaries and our executive to the lay officers and health and safety and workplace reps, our members and therefore their school and wider communities have been safer. And I want to at this point acknowledge in particular the work done by the workplace reps and health and safety reps in local schools in Waltham Forest, many of whom had never been particularly active in the union before, but seeing the need for better conditions and health and safety provision in their schools as the pandemic unfolded, stepped up and took on the role. The NEU can say that we have at all times followed the science. We fought for schools to be shut when COVID transmission was out of control, and we have challenged the employers who have not done the right thing. But this work goes on. And while today is about remembering lives lost, we must make sure we continue to fight for the living. In education, we must fight for a future that values the professionalism of all workers. We must fight for proper pay and proper funding, and we must fight for an end to high-stakes testing and the exam factory culture. We must fight for an end to Ofsted and other draconian accountability measures which see educators leaving the profession in droves. And we must continue to fight for the health and safety for all of our staff working in education settings. The pandemic's changed the world and it's changed our futures, but we need to be the ones deciding what the future looks like. One thing is certain, that this future must be one that's fairer, safer and better for all workers. Solidarity.
Thank you very much, Katie. Excellent contribution, and we hope school workers will continue to exercise their strength in demanding safety at work like any other workers.